Joining us this morning for his thoughts on the rice crisis, Tony Chu of AgriNurture. Hi, Tony. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. Good to see you.
Good morning, Mimi.
All right, Tony, so the government says it may actually remove that price cap on rice in 2 weeks' time when local harvests start to come in. You think our rice inflation problem is close to being over?
Not yet, because this rice problem is more on the macro side. We have neighbors suffering from a shortfall in terms of harvest. We have neighbors aggressively buying for their buffer inventory program, and we have neighbors preparing for war. So it's a lot of geopolitics and macroeconomics. So we have to look at the long-term solutions post the rice cup program.
So what are some of the long-term solutions that you think we should be looking at today?
First thing first, I think the Rice Tariffication Law need to be reviewed. There are some provisions there that are not advantageous to the country as a whole. For example, you're not supposed to restrict NFA from importing rice, because NFA is supposed to be the agency in charge of the food security, particularly rice buffer inventory. So restricting NFA's ability to import basically leave the responsibility to provide enough supply to the local market to the private sector. But private sector will only step in when there's a profit to be made. So I do not agree that NFA should be the option to allow NFA to import rice should be totally taken out.
But there was a reason why they removed that power from the NFA. That all they left with NFA is the responsibility to make sure there's buffer inventory.
Yes, they actually pass on the importation, the right to import or the authority to import to PITC. But PITC belongs to another department. PITC is under DTI. DA is in charge of agriculture and food security. So NFA's mandate is to provide 15 days of buffer inventory for the country. However, if you only allow NFA to buy local rice, we have seasonality issues in terms of rice availability every year. So this seasonality problem can only be addressed by importation in the short term, in the foreseeable future, because attaining rice self-sufficiency will take years, if not decades, to achieve.
Tony, I was actually looking at the number. I know that this government is hoping we can produce locally 11 million metric tons of rice in the second half of this year. They're hoping to hit 20 million metric tons for 2023. That would be up from 19.8 million last year. That would be a very modest increase in production. I wonder why there is a shortfall, considering the estimates is we only need 12.9 million metric tons a year to feed Filipinos. That's according to the National Nutrition Council, which says an average Filipino consumes 118.8 kilos of rice per year. Multiply that to 108 million, that would be 12.9 million. We should have more than enough rice.
No, there's a big mistake on that aspect, because when you say total harvest of about 20 million metric tons, you're referring to paddy. Okay. From paddy to rice, you only recover like 50 plus to 60%. Oh. So there's always that shortfall, and you also have to account for the necessity to keep inventory. So overall, the real shortfall, demand and supply wise, we are looking at about 5 million metric tons of shortfall every year of rice.
Ah, all right. And Tony, I wonder, AgriNurture, you're not into rice. Why not?
We are into rice.
Okay.
Not in a big way, but we have been a partner of Beida Huang in producing hybrid rice. We are also into bigas mais blend.
Okay.
Not in a big way, but we are supporting the government in terms of the food security program.
Why is rice not your biggest product today?
Rice is not the biggest product today because it's not that lucrative as compared to export, as compared to manufacturing of value-added food products. But in terms of our commitment and our passion for agriculture, we want to promote the new technology. We want to promote the shift of consumption towards rice corn blend, because from my perspective, I think as a Filipino, we want to promote local. We have to support our local industry. Otherwise, one day we will end up, even if we have money, we have no place to buy our food. In terms of the per capita consumption, if you look at what you have just mentioned, our per capita consumption is 118 kilos per capita, which is very, very high. That actually includes a lot of wastage and overconsumption. So if we can go back to the proper management of the entire value chain, we should be able to slowly bring down the per capita consumption to below 100 kilos. So that will actually solve a lot of problems. When you bring down the per capita consumption, you mean reduce the spoilage, improve the post-harvest facility, and also offering alternatives such as corn, such as other carbohydrates to bring down the over-dependence on rice.
All right, so let's talk about corn. You mentioned that you're working with a palay mixed with corn product. How does that work? Why is that better?
Well, it's better in terms of nutrition. It's better in terms of, because it's a lower glycemic index product, and it's healthier, it's cheaper, and it involves more local industry. But we have to do a lot of promotion. There's a lot of headwinds because originally the Visayas and Mindanao region are corn consumers, but because of the cheap importation of rice in the last 2 decades, we have turned our consumers into just rice consuming public. So we have to reintroduce corn as a staple to our Visayas and Mindanao constituents.
And when you mix rice with corn, is it 50-50?
Depends on the region. For Luzon, for the Tagalogs, the corn blend should be less. But for the Visayas, the corn blend can be higher, can be 60 or even 70.
They taste just as good?
Yeah, they should taste even better.
Okay. Tony, of course, everybody knows AgriNurture because you export a lot of these fresh vegetables and fruits. Bananas, for example, some 60% of the business is foreign, right? Export meaning. And
Yes.
just this year, you entered large-scale corn farming, which you started talking about. I know that you have a 2.6 billion peso investment in Davao for a 20,000 hectare plantation of corn. How's that coming along?
Well, we are moving. As I've said, there's a lot of headwinds. We're awaiting the foreign partner to provide the long-term funding for us to be able to aggressively push forward with that project. I believe that's the game changer that will reshape the local agricultural industry, and it will also help the government achieve food security program, because that was originally executed during the Duterte administration as part of a public-private partnership in order to reduce the dependence on rice importation.
When you say you're in talks with a foreign partner, is this a foreign partner who is going to buy a minority stake in AgriNurture? Or just for this corn project?
That's still under negotiation. We will disclose to the public as soon as the terms and conditions are finalized. They may come in directly to ANI. They may come in directly or to the project itself.
Because currently, your plantation in Mindanao has a capacity of 200,000 metric tons of corn per year, but your target is to grow that to 1 million metric tons per year of corn in 3 years. Are you on track, you think?
Well, that's the target, especially with we need a lot of help from the national government. We need a lot of help from the financial sector because it requires a lot of capex. So it will take time to achieve, but I believe it's achievable, and it's going to change the local landscape.
Achievable to change, a game changer, as you said. When do you start? For those who have been watching your stock very closely, we know that the growth has sort of recalibrated over the last couple of years. I wonder, for your investors, when do you expect the growth trajectory to return to the previous high growth rate?
I think
And is corn the answer to that?
Corn is not the only answer. I believe a lot of new products, value-added process will add a lot of margin. But in terms of revenue growth, rice corn blend, that's a very big addition to the top line. So if we aggressively push for the project, I believe that before end of the year, there will be some signs of recovery, and next year will be an aggressive growth year for us.
Exciting times ahead for AgriNurture. Aside from, talks with potential investors who might invest directly or indirectly into ANI, do you have plans to raise money, maybe through the stock exchange again?
Well, there's a pending stock right offering. Our underwriter should be in the final stage of finalizing the documents for submission. And once we completed that, we can recalibrate and see where we can raise money from the stock market.
All right. On that note, Tony, thank you so much for joining us this morning, for the insights, and for sharing a very optimistic view of the company. We look forward to more good news. Thank you, sir. Have a great week.
Thank you, Mimi. Thank you.